In the year 1600, in North Africa, English privateer Solomon Kane led his ship's crew into battle against the Ottoman defenders of a fortress town. He shows no mercy and orders his crew to slaughter all the people they find within the castle. Hey there, welcome to Popcorn and Summaries. Today, we're diving into the 2009 adventure/action movie known as Solomon Kane. But before we jump into the details, subscribing to the channel if you're into the commentary. Let's get right into it. After defeating the defenders, Kane and his men raid the fortress, where most of the crew are killed by demons. Kane fights his way to the throne room, but, before he can take the treasure, he sees something strange happening. Suddenly Kane is confronted by the Devil's Reaper, a demon who tells him his soul is forfeit to Satan after his life of sin and claims his soul. Solomon first tries to fight him, but after realizing that the devil is more powerful than him, he rejects his fate and jumps out of a window to escape. 1 year later, Solomon returned to England and found sanctuary in a monastery. He renounced violence and donated his wealth to the church in hopes of finding redemption. Kane has tattooed his body with Christian symbols to keep Satan's forces away from him. He was in his room in church when a new boy named Thomas entered his room to serve him food, but he saw papers on the walls covered in blood. The head priest arrives to talk to Solomon alone. The head priest takes him on a walk, shares his dream, and tells him he has a prophetic vision that Solomon must leave as dark shadows grow when he is here. Solomon gets upset and tells him that he has not harmed anybody and that they are expelling him, and priest says he must return home to find his inheritance. As Kane is leaving the church, the head priest talks to another priest, saying Solomon has to discover his purpose in life. He starts his journey, and on the way, he sees dead bodies hanging. There was a couple who offered him a ride, but he refused and decided to walk. In the evening, he takes a rest in the woods and lights the fire when 3 robbers attack him. They check his bag and find magical symbols on it. They beat him to death and took his stuff because he refused to fight and break his oath. In flashbacks, it is revealed that Solomon is the youngest son of a powerful and wealthy lord named Josiah. Josiah selected Solomon's brother Marcus as the heir to his throne. Solomon gets angry and tries to tell his father Marcus that he is a bully, but Josiah does not listen. He demands Solomon join the priesthood, but Solomon doesn't want to. Solomon refused the offer and fled the castle in a fit of rage. When he opened the castle door, he saw someone attacking him and woke up, finding an old man in front of him. He finds out he was found and treated by the Crowthorns, a Puritan family who was traveling from the west to the New World. The family includes the father William, his wife Catherine, and their 3 children, the elder brother Edward, the younger brother Samuel, and their sister Meredith. They stop their journey when Kane wakes up. They set up camp to take a rest. Kane washes himself in the water when Meredith sees signs on his body. They eat lunch together while talking about their lives. They talk about war when Kane shares that he finds killing an easy thing. For him, battle is home. At night, when he was asleep, he had flashbacks. He has left the castle, but outside the walls, he sees Marcus assaulting a girl on a cliffside. He intervenes to stop him when Marcus tells him to leave. Kane pushes Marcus away, and Marcus accidentally falls off the cliff. He wakes up in the camp and joins William outside. He shares his past life, telling him he was an evil man. The next day, they again start their journey. Solomon begins traveling and bonding with the family. Meredith gives him new clothes, which he likes. On the way, they see dead bodies in the broken church. William says it is done by the devil. Meredith finds a little girl crying over a dead body. They leave the bodies and take the girl with them. At night, they ask the girl about what happened with the people at church. Kane finds something strange in the girl, and he realizes that she is a witch. He brings the Christian sign near her when she attacks Kane, revealing her true identity before leaving. She marks her hand on Meredith. Later, Meredith shows her hand to Kane, asking him about the sign. Kane comforts her by saying it's just a sign and nobody can harm her until he is with them. Later, the family is found by an army of possessed soldiers led by a masked horseman who wants people to follow him, and he kills those who deny him. They loot, pillage, and kill in the name of an evil sorcerer named Malachi. Drawn to the witch's mark, the soldiers track down the family and hold them hostage, while Kane requests that they leave the family. The masked horseman shows no mercy and orders his soldiers to kill Samuel, Edward, and William while he abducts Meredith. Solomon breaks his promise and kills all the soldiers, but it is too late to save anyone, but he saves Catherine. He promises Catherine and William, who are at last breath, that he will save Meredith. With his dying breath, William promises that rescuing Meredith will redeem Solomon's soul. Kane travels from town to town, searching for the masked horseman and Meredith. Kane battles Malachi's followers across the countryside. He rescues many captives but does not find Meredith. On the other hand, Meredith and the other prisoners are taken to the location where she yells at them to leave her, but an old lady advises her to make peace as they cannot do anything. Meanwhile, Cain arrives at the church and prays to God. He apologizes for failing God. Suddenly, he was about to be attacked by the father when he stopped him and apologized after realizing he was a priest. He explains that Malachi is the servant of the devil, and his followers are taking the weaker survivors of their raids as slaves and corrupting the strong into soldiers. The parishioners of those priests have been turned into zombies by Malachi. Those zombies are kept in the basement of the church. The priest brings Cain to show them, and he throws Cain into the basement. He tries to feed Cain to his parishioners, who have become ghouls, but Cain escapes after fighting them. He gets out of the basement and faces the robbers who attacked him earlier. They are now corrupted servants of Malachi. He kills 2 robbers and interrogates the third one, who's taking his last breath. Cain shows him a Meredith picture, and he tells him that Meredith is dead. Cain gets angry and throws the robber at the ghouls. He starts believing his quest for redemption has failed and drinks to excess at a country inn. The 2 former shipmates recognize him as the captain of the ship and try to recruit him as the leader of a resistance against Malachi, but Cain refuses, telling them he is a different person now. At night, the inn is attacked by Malachi's followers, led by his lieutenant, the masked rider. They killed many of them and hanged the remaining. They crucify the leaders of the resistance, including Cain. As Cain hangs on the cross, Meredith cries out his name from her cage in the back of the raider's wagon and asks him to save her. After seeing Meredith Cain, he realizes he still has a chance to save her. He pulls himself away and sets himself free from the knees in his hand. Malachi was about to kill him when the remaining men of the resistance finished them and took Cain to safety. Solomon is then rescued by a group of rebels and healed by a pagan woman. They recognized Solomon from his pirate days and wanted him to lead their resistance. He wakes up and asks the woman not to apply his magic to him. She leaves, telling the shipman from the inn that she played her part. Before leaving, she reveals that Cain will lead them to the blood and darkness. Cain removes the bandages from his hand and finds they have been recovered. He takes his clothes to leave the place to save Meredith when the group confronts him, asking him to lead their group against Malachi. He then accepts their offer. They tell him that Malachi used to be a healer before making a bargain with the devil. He can possess anyone only by touching them. He now lives in Cain's ancestral home, from which Cain had been expelled in his youth after defying his father. They planned to sneak them in through a hidden passage. He asked everyone to gather their weapons. Meanwhile, Meredith Cage arrives at the castle. Cain leads the rebels into the castle via an underground passage. It was raining, and there was mud everywhere. Cain sees the heads of skeletons hanging on the castle gate. Suddenly, a witch disguised as Samuel throws the skeleton's head towards Cain, but he kills her with his dagger. The fight begins between Malachi's minions and Cain's men. The masked men appear and kill many of the resistance fighters. Cain fights with him when he throws Cain into the dungeon, where he fights the enemy and frees many captives but does not find Meredith among them. Cain finds an old man tied to the chains. He tries to open the chain when he finds that he is his father, Josiah. He tells him he cannot break the chains because they are tied with magic. He tells his father he is guilty of Marcus' death, and he had not done that purposely, but it was an accident. Father reveals that Marcus got injured but did not die, which gives relief to Cain, who all those years lived with the guilt that he killed his brother. The masked rider is Cain's brother, Marcus. He tells him he took Marcus to the castle to heal him, but the healers failed to revive him. He decided not to lose both his sons and made a deal with Malachi to restore them. Malachi betrayed Josiah, turning Marcus into the masked horseman and imprisoning Josiah in the dungeons while he took the throne. Josiah takes Cain's gun and requests that Cain kill him to set his soul free from Malachi's curse. Solomon reluctantly kills his father. Cain gets out of the room and finds his men fighting with Malachi's men. He then heads to the throne room to confront Malachi. At the door, he yells at Malachi when he sees Malachi's men standing behind him. Cain enters the throne room, where Malachi is waiting for him. Malachi tells him his soul belongs to the devil, but it disappears when Malachi tries to attack him. He finds Meredith in a cage, and when he tries to open it, she warns him of a trap, and suddenly Marcus stabs him in the back. Cain tries to talk with Marcus, but they engage in a fight when Marcus does not listen to him. During the fight, Solomon apologizes to Marcus. Cain asks him about Malachi and wins after setting Marcus on fire and freeing his soul. Malachi uses Meredith's blood to release a demon, Balrog, who claims Cain's soul. He protects himself from the Balrog's attacks and asks Malachi to leave Meredith so he can give his soul to them. Before Malachi can kill Meredith, Cain shoots Malachi dead and sacrifices himself to close the portal. Both Malachi and the creature are sucked back through the closing portal, leaving Solomon unconscious on the floor. Meredith runs to him, trying to wake him up. Suddenly he awakens and explains to Meredith that he has finally redeemed his soul, which he promised to his father. Cain buries his father and brother and reunites Meredith with her mother. He assumes a new mission to roam the earth, combating the forces of darkness. If you enjoyed this gripping recap, show your support by hitting the like button and don't forget to subscribe to be the first to catch our upcoming videos.